Everyone he talked to liked him instantly. Strangers bought stuff for him, ladies worshipped him, women left their husbands to come be with him. Jim felt like he was on top of the world, but soon, he realized the true nature of the love potion's curse. A young man who was introverted and ridiculously shy lived in a closely knitted community. His name was Jim. He had always struggled with matters of the heart and had fallen in love several times, but his fear of rejection and lack of confidence prevented him from ever expressing his feelings. One day, Jim paid a visit to his grandmother. She had an affinity for the dark arts, so there were a lot of mystical items in her house. While going through her stuff, he stumbled upon an old, dusty book. The book contained ancient spells and potions, including a recipe for a love potion. Filled with a mix of curiosity and desperation, Jim decided to give it a try. He believed that with the help of the potion, he would finally be able to win the heart of his longtime crush, Georgia. So hurriedly, he left without saying a word to his grandmother. Jim gathered the not very rare ingredients required for the potion and carefully followed the instructions. He brewed the concoction under the pale moonlight, hoping that it would bring him the happiness he had always yearned for. Little did he know the power and consequences that came with tampering with such forces. The next day, Jim approached Georgia with a vial of the love potion hidden in his pocket. As he nervously stumbled over his words, he accidentally spilled the entire potion on himself. Unknown to Jim, the potion was not supposed to come in contact with his skin once it's been brewed because it produces unpredictable effects in such a situation. In an instant, Jim's world changed. The love potion's magic began to take effect, but not in the way he had expected. Instead of Georgia falling deeply in love with him, it seemed as though everyone he encountered became infatuated with him. Friends, acquaintances, and even strangers started showering Jim with unwarranted attention and affection. At first, Jim enjoyed the newfound attention. He reveled in the love and adoration he received, relishing the feeling of being desired and appreciated. Everyone he talked to liked him instantly. Strangers bought stuff for him, ladies worshipped him, women left their husbands to come be with him. Jim felt like he was on top of the world, but soon, he realized the true nature of the love potion's curse. The love people felt for him was not genuine, it was forced and artificial. After a few months, Jim's life descended into chaos. His friends became possessive and jealous, constantly quarreling and fighting over his affection. His family felt neglected and abandoned, as Jim's attention was always diverted elsewhere. The once close-knit community turned hostile and divided, with people fighting and scheming to win Jim's heart. Jim's heart ached for genuine love and connection, the type of love he had always wanted from Georgia, but he found himself trapped in a web of superficial adoration. He longed for the days when he had few friends who loved him for who he was, not for the enchantment that had befallen him. The love potion had turned his life into a living nightmare. Desperate to break free from the curse, Jim returned to his grandmother's house and told her what he had done. She was surprised for a moment, but later gave a crude smile and assured him that all will be well, because she knew how to undo the spell of the love potion. With fear in his heart, Jim followed the instructions he got from his grandma and performed the counterspell, undoing the effects of the love potion. The town slowly returned to normal, but the damage had already been done. The counterspell worked, but it did not erase the people's memories. They could still remember the unspeakable things they did with Jim, and the atrocious things they did out of jealousy. Jim had lost the trust and friendship of everyone in the community. He was hated by all, and the scars of his ill-fated experiment would forever remain. He realized that love shouldn't be forced or manufactured, and vowed never to meddle with forces beyond his control again. As the love potion continued to wear off, the people who had given valuable items to Jim returned to collect them. He gradually became sad, bitter, and depressed. He wanted to leave the community and go start life afresh somewhere else where no one knew him, but he didn't have the funds for such a trip. What broke Jim even more was the fact that his longtime crush, Georgia, now completely disliked him and never wanted to see him again. As Jim grappled with the aftermath of the love potion incident, something unexpected happened. A very pretty lady named Cassandra moved into the community. She heard about the love potion incident and was intrigued, so she decided to pay Jim a visit, just to see this man who was able to make an entire community fall in love with him. Jim was surprised to see a stranger at his door, but he let her in and made her feel at home. They shared stories, experiences, and laughter. The day unfolded into unexpected adventures, deepening their connection. Throughout the week, they continued to spend time together, discovering shared interests and building a special bond. Jim felt the sadness and depression begin to give way as Cassandra's company became a source of comfort and joy, gradually lifting the weight off his shoulders. Confused and uncertain, Jim couldn't help but wonder if the love potion was still somehow affecting his life, or if fate was finally bringing him the love he had longed for. One evening, as they enjoyed a quiet moment together, Cassandra, who had always been reserved and distant, mustered the courage and confessed to Jim that spending time with him had led to something unexpected. She had fallen in love with him. Jim, with excitement in his eyes, replied that he felt the same way for her. And so they started their relationship on a high note. Despite warnings from the community about Jim being evil and being accused of casting a love spell, Cassandra chose to follow her heart. The whispers of caution fell on deaf ears as Cassandra continued to nurture her growing affection for Jim. A few weeks later, Cassandra's younger sister Rhea paid her a visit. Excited to introduce Rhea to her newfound love, Cassandra invites Jim over, hoping that her sister will see the goodness in him. Rhea and Jim had a brief conversation and got along immediately. The next day, however, everything took an unexpected turn. Rhea woke up and realized that she was madly in love with Jim. Grappling with her newfound feelings, she decides to tell Jim about it. As she approached his place, shock washed over her as she saw Cassandra and Jim together. Overwhelmed by jealousy and the rage of 1,000 mad men, Rhea's emotions erupted into a chaotic confrontation. In the heat of the moment, Rhea confronted her sister, tearing at her clothes and issuing stern warnings to stay away from Jim. Cassandra, shocked and utterly confused, retaliated and tore Rhea's clothes too, resulting in a fight. Unable to separate the sisters, Jim quickly called his neighbors to come and help. He also realized that somehow the love potion was still working, and it was about to ruin his relationship with Cassandra, so he quickly made his way to his grandmother's house. Unfortunately, she was very sick, but she listened to him as he tearfully recounted the chaotic scene that unfolded between Cassandra and Rhea. His grandmother, wise and knowing, reveals the truth behind the love potion's lingering effects. She explained that any person who was new in the community and engaged in a conversation with him will fall in love with him due to the love potion's influence. With a heavy heart, Jim realized the weight of the situation and the consequences of dabbling in forces beyond his understanding. His grandmother taught him the reversal spell once more, emphasizing its necessity whenever a new connection forms. Filled with sorrow, Jim performed the reversal spell, watching as Cassandra and Rhea snap out of their enchanted states. The once charmed sisters now harbor disdain for Jim, just like everyone else in the community. Jim came to terms with the perpetual curse of the love potion, understanding that he will navigate life all alone. He should never have played with powers beyond his comprehension. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy stories like this, please subscribe.